And I tell the story of my first speech I had to give at Procter and Gamble. You want to know what happened? I fainted. I was so nervous. I literally collapsed. No such thing as a natural born speaker. This is an unnatural thing. You know, you've got, 50 little muscles in your face that you can control various expressions. And then you got to practice in the mirror. There's nothing more painful than a boring ass speaker.
On today's show, we are honored to have Dr. George Fraser. Dr. Fraser is a founder and CEO, author, and keynote speaker with incredible amounts of experience. He has received over 350 awards and citations from organizations worldwide.
And once you write your speech, you got to practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, so that you can deliver it. The greatest fear the human has is the fear of speaking. Do you know that? It's greater than the fear of dying. The second greatest fear is the fear of speaking and dying at the same time. You want to speak? Now listen to me. If you're serious about speaking, let me tell you the first thing you must do.
Welcome back to Beyond the Keynote. I'm very, very excited today to speak to Dr. George Fraser. Now, we're very lucky to have Dr. George on the show. He is a founder and CEO, author, and keynote speaker with incredible amounts of experience. We've just had a little chat, and basically Dr. George has said that he will have more information than I could possibly ask questions in the time frame that we have to answer. Thank you so much for being on the show, Dr. George.
It's wonderful to talk with you, wonderful to be with you, and wonderful to be down under. Yeah, this is a special treat, and thank you for thinking of me and selecting me. You had lots of people to select from. I'm deeply appreciative.
Well, I'm very deeply appreciative that you decided to say yes when we reached out to come on the show. So thank you. And tell us, where are you dialing in from? As you said, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. Where are you dialing in from?
Well, I'm dialing in from Cleveland, Ohio, northeast part of the United States of America, but I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. And they say if you're from Bed-Stuy, you're either a thug or a gangster. I'm a gangster.
You're a gangster. I love it.
I'm a gangster. That's right. In fact, I put on a big conference for the past 24 years, and we sell T-shirts, black T-shirts that say gangster on it. And under the word gangster are 4 words: all earned, never given.
Okay. I think we've got a lot of powerful topics to dive into. So we definitely need to hear all about that conference at some stage. But I'd like to first of all dive back into the past, because you've achieved incredible things in your lifetime. And I think sometimes people look at people like yourselves and think that you were just born that way, or you were lucky, or you just had the talent to be able to get up and share messages and communicate with others. But generally, what I've found through talking to lots of different people is that there's many obstacles along the way that you overcome to be the person that you are today. So tell us about your upbringing that was in Brooklyn, it sounds like, in New York. And did you ever imagine when you were younger that you would be the person that you are today? Do you remember if adults ever said to you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you remember what you said? I've asked about 3 questions there, so go for your life in answering those.
Yeah. No, I had no clue I would be who I evolved to be by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly not a speaker and a successful business owner, award-winning business owner. No, I had no clue. There were signs now that I reflect back over my 80 years of living. But I digressed. I was born in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, to a family of 11 children, 8 boys and 3 girls. My father was a New York City cab driver, and he built or purchased a brownstone in Brooklyn, New York, which are very famous. He married a fair-skinned sister, Ida Mae Baldwin, from Lumpkin, Georgia, and together 11 children. When I turned 2 years old, I'm next to the youngest of the 11. My mother became mentally ill, and she was institutionalized for her entire life in an insane asylum. My father could not take care of 11 children, working 12 hours a day. So at 2 years old, me, my sister, and my younger brother Joseph, we were orphaned. We stayed in an orphanage from 2 to 5, and then we were put into foster care. And then I aged out of foster care at 18 years old and went back to the brownstone that my father maintained. I had three older brothers who got there before me, 2 or 3 years before me, but by the time I arrived, they were heroin addicts and heroin dealers. In fact, one served time in jail. And I knew that I had to get out of there. It wasn't anything I announced, it was just something that I felt. And I talked to my younger brother Joseph and said, "We really need to leave here. We cannot stay in this environment. They're drug dealers and they're on drugs, and it's just not good." He chose to stay with his older brothers, and I chose to leave. I had to get a job first, and my first real job, because as a foster kid, no one thought I was college material. I ended up getting a vocational diploma in carpentry. And I wasn't angry about that because there was another guy who was pretty famous who was also a carpenter. But I couldn't get a job in carpentry in New York City because the Italians controlled the carpenters union. And I'm an African American. And so we were not getting a union-based carpentry job. So my first real job was mopping floors on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport, cleaning toilets and cleaning urinals. So I'm in a stall, that's where the toilet is, cleaning a toilet. About 1 o'clock in the morning, a late flight came in. A man came into my bathroom. He used the bathroom, and then he went over to the sink. By the time he went over to the sink, I had come out of the stall. I'd finished cleaning the toilet, and I'm leaning up against the stall, watching him with a balled up piece of wet paper towel that he had used to wash his hands, clean off the counter and polish the chrome on the faucet of the sink. So I looked at him and I said, "Would you like a job?" And he laughed. I said, "Well, that's really what I do. You don't really have to do that." He said, "Yeah, yeah, you're right." He said, "Can I ask you a question, young man?" I said, "Sure." He said, "I've never been in a public bathroom where the person who was cleaning the toilet was whistling. What was that?" And I said, "Oh, well, if you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. I'm not going to be doing this the rest of my life, but I'm going to learn lessons from this. I promise you that. And I'll use those lessons as I seek other opportunities." He said, "That's good." I said, "Now tell me why you were wiping the counter off and polishing the chrome on the faucet." He said, "Well, I've learned a lesson too in life that no matter where you go and what you do, try to leave it, them, or the situation just a little bit better."
Ah,
Now, remember, I'm 18 years
mm,
old. I am still talking about what he said to me at 80 years
mm,
old. That's how deep that went into my subconscious mind. Whatever you touch, try to leave it just a little bit better.
mm.
It was probably one of the most important things said to me at just the right time that informed my trajectory in life.
Amazing.
I'm running the streets of Harlem. I have to tell you these two stories because these two stories really are responsible for who I am today.
Yes, no, please tell.
I'm running the streets of Harlem in New York City, and it's a nice afternoon. I'm on 125th Street and Lenox Avenue, right down from the Apollo
Okay.
Theater. And there's a young man on the street corner, literally on a soapbox.
Uh-huh.
And he was giving a speech. It wasn't Malcolm X, because it was the time of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, but it wasn't those two. His name was Stokely Carmichael, who later changed his name to Kwame Ture, married the beautiful South African song stylist Miriam Makeba, and he moved to South Africa. But he said something on that corner to a large crowd. I happened to be one who walked over and was listening, standing there listening to him. And here's what he said on that corner. He said that no black person in this country makes any advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth. That all individual advancement is based on mass struggle. That we make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Therefore, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you. That informs my entire life. Now, how it would manifest itself, it was to be determined. Remember, I'm 18 years old cleaning
Yes.
toilets at the time. But I still, again, talk about this
Mm.
some 65, 68 years later. That was the second thing, most important thing that informed my trajectory of life. That was the sort of the philosophical base of my being.
Mm. Wow.
And I can say it this way, having achieved what I have achieved, and I say this with modesty. I'm one of the few people in America with two Presidential Lifetime Achievement Awards,
Amazing.
one from Barack
Mm.
Obama and one from President Joe Biden. 350 awards and citations,
Mm.
3 honorary doctorate degrees, and I do not have an earned doctorate. I have a high school diploma.
Okay.
I don't even I do not even have an undergrad degree or a graduate degree.
Mm.
I am self-taught,
Mm.
and that came from a teacher. We all have a teacher
Mm.
in our life that we
Mm.
remember, right, Carmen?
Absolutely.
At least
Mm.
one that we
Yeah.
remember. And who do I remember? I remember Mrs. Lambert in fourth
Mrs.
grade.
Lambert. Okay. Tell us about
And as a,
Mrs. Lambert.
yeah, and I was in fourth
Mm.
grade, and she detected that I could not read at fourth grade level.
Okay.
So she said to me, George, you cannot read at the proper level. It's very important that you know how to read. I'm going to make you my personal project.
Ah.
And by the time you get out of this class, which is about a year long in the American system, you'll be able to read. She taught me how to read. She gave me an appreciation for books.
Mm.
I became addicted to reading. I read 100 books a year.
Wow.
I'm sitting in my office, not in my home.
Mm.
And behind me is not a green screen. That's my library of 2,500 books in my office and 15,000 books in my home.
Wow.
Read, read, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, read, read. It is if you exercise your body, to keep muscle mass and keep the fat off, you also have to exercise your mind. And one of the best ways to exercise your mind is to read. So that's, that is sort of the long and sort of short story of my trajectory of life. And at 80 years old, I believe that I feel this way, I look this way, I sound this way, because I have what the French call a raison d'etre, a reason for being. I found my purpose in life. And that is the goal of all of us. If you are human, actually, if you're any animal, if you're anything produced by God, you have a purpose. And that's our goal. What is your purpose? What gives you the greatest fulfillment, the greatest joy, and the greatest satisfaction, even if you're not paid for it? Identify it. And then you will find a path to monetize it, because we need to earn money so that we can take care of ourselves and our families. But you will earn the most money. You will get the best fulfillment by doing what you love with people that you love. That's the key to success. Doing what you love with people that you love. If you do what you love, you will never work another day in your life. And people always say to me, Dr. Fraser, you work 12 to 14 hours a day. My wife says that, by the way. I said, I'm not working. You call it work. I'm doing what I absolutely love. There is no thing that I'd rather be doing more, Nora Jean, than loving you, than doing what God has put me here to do. So it is not work. It does not tire me. I cannot wait to get up in the morning and do what? Go to work so I can do what I love.
So good.
So the question to the audience tonight is, are you doing what you love?
Mm,
Here's what I know about people who hate what they're doing. I've never met a person who hated what they were doing and was good at it,
yes. Yeah. Mm.
right? The best you're ever going to be is doing what you love and marrying someone that you love.
Yes.
That's the best you're ever going to
Mm.
be. You marry someone that actually you end up hating, you ain't going to be real good at it.
That is true.
You end up doing work. You end up doing work that you hate to go
Mm,
to. You're not going to be very good at it.
mm,
That's just a practical way to look at a holistic way to look at
mm.
life. Are you doing what you love with people that you love?
Yes. I love that. And it's so, so true. So true. Uh, so you're 18 years old. You've had two very prevalent, impactful moments that you still remember like they were yesterday, it sounds like, and now you're 80. So tell us, because you've ended up doing something that you absolutely love and you're not still cleaning bathrooms. So tell us, where did you go? You were still cleaning bathrooms at the time that these two moments happened. What was next for you in the journey?
My next opportunity came after I made the very difficult decision to leave my home. I packed up what little I had, got on a bus, and came to Cleveland, Ohio. And I was fortunate enough. Remember, I'm 19 or so years old. My first job in Cleveland, Ohio. My sister lived in Cleveland. That's why I went to Cleveland. She took me in. Was mopping floors and cleaning toilets at the Cleveland Clinic. And by the way, if you go to LaGuardia Airport or Cleveland Clinic, and you go into the basement where the maintenance department is, there's a picture on the wall. It's me. Why? I was the best floor mopper, toilet cleaner in the history of those two places. Now, what does that mean? It means it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And how you do anything is how you do everything. But it starts early. So from there, I got a job in a very shishi poo poo department store in downtown Cleveland. And from there, I got a job with Encyclopedia Britannica, selling encyclopedias, which I really loved because I was selling knowledge. And I was in love with reading and knowledge. So I was very good at it and made a lot of money and a lot of friends. And then I opened my first business selling Black history encyclopedias called the International Library of Negro Life and History. Right? A 10-volume set. Now, where did I get those skills from? The skills I learned at selling encyclopedias for Britannica. That was an extraordinarily successful business, and I was participating in an exposition in Cincinnati, Ohio, selling my books to schools, colleges, libraries. Black history and literature on it was a very new thing in the 60s and 70s. And I'm sitting in my booth, and I see this gorgeous woman who was a hostess for the Pepsi Cola Company. Their booth was right across from me, and I'm looking at her. She's gorgeous. So I'm plotting. I walk over to her when things were quiet. She happened to be sitting down, and I said, "You know what? I know why you're not smiling. And she looked up at me, because you're hungry. Remember, she was a hostess in the Pepsi
Yeah.
Cola booth. I said, can I buy you a hot dog and a Coke? Okay, so she laughed, right? So once you get them
Yeah.
laughing, right? I got her a hot dog and a Coke, and I say to people when we talk with people, that's the most expensive hot dog and Coke I ever purchased in my life. I'm still thinking. So that was right at the very beginning of my corporate experience.
Mhm.
I was moving from an entrepreneur selling encyclopedias, Black History
Mhm.
encyclopedias. And in spite of the fact that I did not have a college degree, Procter and Gamble wanted to interview me because I was very active in the Cleveland community. I volunteers for a lot of things, and I had a very, very, very good name. And so they came to me, would you like to interview for Procter and Gamble? I don't know if you're familiar with
Yes.
Procter and Gamble,
Mm.
but it's a mega
Mm.
company, and they only take college degree people.
Ah, okay.
Right, that's the entry point
Uh-huh.
of, right, and but I told him, I don't have a college degree, I have a high school diploma in carpentry. He said, we'll look past that," and they interviewed me about 8 times and gave me my first corporate job,
Ah, good on you.
and I stayed with them for 12 years, and then the United Way, of Cleveland, and I don't know if there's a United Way in Australia. Is there a United Way? So, yeah, they do fun they do community-based fundraising. I became Yeah, I became the director of marketing and communications for them. And then the Ford Motor Company found me. They were they were recruiting African American men for dealerships for the Ford and Lincoln Mercury, and they selected 12 men in the United States to go through a 2-year program. They selected me as one of them, and I graduated number one in the class. How you do anything is how you do everything. And then I decided I did not want to sell cars for a living. Nothing wrong with it. I would have been a millionaire, much to the disappointment in my wife. I told her I did not want to do that, and it took me 2 years to find out. But what I really wanted to do is to start my own business. Right? I want to teach people how to network. I want to teach people the importance and the power of the human connection. And so she was supportive but curious. Well, how would you make a living doing that? I said, I haven't figured that out yet, but I will. And so she supported me, and I began down that path, and I began putting on networking conferences, small, less than 500 people, once a month in Cleveland, Ohio. I did it for 5 years straight. It was extraordinarily successful. It was called Success Net, Success Through Networking, and got a big name doing that. Learned how to put on conferences, and then I started the business FraserNet, and the fundamental and foundational product was the PowerNetworking Conference, and the theme of FraserNet, the 3-word mantra of our company was connect, grow, and prosper, so that you can do the most important thing we all must be able to do, Carmen, and that is to learn, to earn, and return. That we have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning. And therein lies our problem. What I love about what you're doing is you are returning. You're interviewing the best and brightest that you can find, and you return this information back to your community, hopefully to make them better and to help them do the right thing. Learn, earn, and
I
return.
love that. Learn, I'm writing it down, earn, return. It's so true, so true. And you're right, including yourself, the amazing people that I've had the pleasure of speaking to have done that. They have learnt and earned, and they are returning it through their speaking. So, on
Okay.
speaking, unless there was somewhere else you wanted to take us, tell us about so these conferences that you're running. Were you hosting? Were you speaking, or how did you run them?
I was hosting primarily. In other words, I was the producer, and then hiring speakers, the best and brightest that I could find in America. That was that was the whole idea. It was to bring the best and brightest in our culture who had definite track records of profound success and excellence, and to ask them to volunteer to give 1 hour, come back to the community, and give 1 hour of their time giving advice and counsel, whether it's on a panel, whether it's a keynote speech, whether it's a workshop. And I convinced 60 of the best people in America to do that. The first conference was in 2000. The PowerNetworking Conference was in 2002. So what was that, 22 years ago? And we had planned on 3,000. We had 8,000 people. The second year, we had 9,000 people. The third year, we had 10,000 people. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. You cannot really properly teach and train people, 10,000 people at a time. You can't have a workshop with 2,000 people in it. That's not a workshop. Right. So I made a conscious decision that no longer do I want a convention center conference. I want a hotel conference, and I want to limit it to about 1,000 to 1,200 people and break it up into multiple workshops, and so that it's hand-to-hand custom training. And that's the path that I took, and the path that I'm still on. Next year will be our 25th anniversary in Atlanta. And it was the Power Networking Conference was named by Forbes magazine as one of the top 5 conferences in America not to be missed. Not one of the top 5 Black conferences, although it's targeted to Black people, but one of the top 5 of all conferences put on in this country. And I'm not bragging, I'm just saying that's what the award says. And I'm very proud of that. But how did I get to that? I said it right at the beginning, Carmen. I was doing what I love with people that I love.
And
It's impossible to fail.
do you, and I think for anyone listening, I'm sure you already have, but take that one in. Take that one in. It's been said a couple of times, and I 100% agree with you. Whenever in my life I've been doing something because I thought it was the right thing to do, because I thought other people would want me to do it, or because I thought I had to do it to do the right thing, I've normally not enjoyed it, and I've had to work extra hard to get a good result in it because it wasn't what I was born to be doing. And any time that I was following my heart and doing what I was sent here to do, it was much easier, much more enjoyable, and I got far greater results without having to really work as hard, or not work. It feels like
That's
it's
right.
not work, as you said. That's my business does not feel like work.
Yeah, you have discovered it. I mean, that's the answer right there. Again, it's no more complicated than that. I mean, you really only need 2 things to profoundly succeed anywhere in the world.
What are they? Tell us.
You need focus.
Focus. Uh-huh.
Focus.
Mhm.
That's right. What is the focus? Doing what you love. Right? That's what the focus is. Your purpose, finding your purpose. So once you focus on your purpose, um, and then well, focus is actually the second thing.
Okay.
The first thing is purpose.
Okay. Mhm.
Purpose. Now, this is very easy to say,
Mhm.
very difficult to do. But to find purpose, you got to do a lot of different things. You got to do a lot of different things. Some of them you'll hate, some of them you'll love. And then out of those things that you explore and do and take some risk, you will discover that thing in which God has put you here. So, purpose. And then
Purpose, and then focus on the purpose. Okay. Yes.
focus. Stay the course. Stay the course. And then understand that failing 49% of the time is still winning.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Doesn't feel like
Failing
it at the time,
49%
but
of the
yes.
time is
You're learning.
still
Failing is
winning.
learning.
Now, let me confess to you, I have failed my way to success.
Tell us
You think
about
that every
one
single
of your
thing,
most memorable failures that I'm assuming you did not enjoy at the time, but you now see as a blessing.
Yes, because as we live, we learn. Let us pray. We live, we learn. And we talked about before the interview my favorite quote outside of the Bible. It's a quote by Marcus Aurelius, one of the five great Caesars, one of the co-founders of Stoic philosophy. I advise anyone watching this to pick up a book on Stoicism. It'll change your life. There's an email that you can get for free, the Daily Stoic. It's incredible. But Marcus Aurelius was one of the founders of that. And Marcus Aurelius said in 600 BC, before Christ, he said that the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Right? It becomes the way. The obstacle does not block the path. The obstacles are the path. I eat obstacles for breakfast. When there's an obstacle in your way, it simply means there's something that you need to learn. What is the first thing God does when He gives you an assignment that He feels that you've been prepared for, Carmen? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under that obstacle. Trip, fall, make the mistakes, learn the lessons, and then apply those lessons to the next obstacle. Right? Because that's the next thing that's going to happen when you get your second assignment. An obstacle will be put in your way. And your job, again, is to find a way over, around, through. And when you look back over your entire life, this is for everybody. There's no exceptions to this rule. This is your entire life. It's your ability to overcome obstacles. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it,
Mm, yeah.
right? That's how you process
Mm,
it. It's an obstacle. It's meant for you to learn something.
mm,
That's all it is, right? Learn it, bless it, and release it, and move on.
yes. Are there any obstacles you remember overcoming that you want to share with the audience?
Oh, we could spend the rest of this. We could spend the rest of this interview talking about my failures, but I don't really look at them. I don't process them as failures. I just process. I don't. I process them as what did I learn? Right? I don't feel negative about it. I actually feel positive about it. I learned something. Right? It was something I didn't know that I should have known that I do. I now do know, and whatever price I had to pay, that was the price I had to pay to learn that lesson. Now, here's the biggest lesson for everyone listening. And I want to say this and still be loved. And I want you to hang with me as I explain where I'm going. Everyone watching or listening to this interview, I'm here to tell you that you are lucky to be able to die. Now, what does that mean, Dr. Fraser? It means that you've overcome 1,000,000 to 1 odds. Millions of sperm cells going up the fallopian tube of your mom. One of them is strong enough to break through, only one, and to fertilize your mother's egg. And you were born. And you were born. Let me put that in context, Carmen. The human species is 300,000 years old, humans as we know them. Right? So if you're 50 years old, it took 299,950 years for you to be born. Now, when you're born, something magical happens. God gives you time. Time. I will tell anybody in a New York minute, do anything but don't waste my time. You're not killing time. Time is killing you. Time, Carmen, is the only currency we spend where you do not know the balance. Time. If you're lucky, you'll get 80 years. If you're lucky, the average male in the world dies around 73. I'm already 7 years on God time. And still in my right mind and still can get up and walk around and run and do right. So time. Just think about that. And by the way, Carmen, and anybody watching this is the only time you will ever be given. There will never, ever, ever in the history of time, far beyond our demise, that you will ever be born again in the human flesh in that way. That's how precious it is. When the Buddha was asked, what is the biggest mistake that humans make? The Buddha replied, the biggest mistake that humans make is to think they have time. Carmen, it's like I blinked my eyes and I'm 80 years old. Time. It's the most precious thing you have. Use it wisely. The most important human decision you will make in your life, we talked about this a little bit, Carmen, is your life partner. Mess that up 2 or 3 times and see what your life looks like.
Very
Your life partner. Now, how do I know this? I've been married to the same woman for 52 years.
amazing. Congratulations.
It is the reason I am who I am and how I got to where I got. Could you imagine if my partner was hell on wheels? What my life would have looked like? No. I played my role as the male, and she played her role as the female. We were equally yoked. Her strengths covered my weaknesses. My strengths covered her weaknesses. Were there hills and valleys and twists and turns? Of course. Welcome to life. Right? Of course. Did we navigate? People ask me all the time, Dr. Fraser, what is the secret to staying married to the same woman for 52 years, a half a century plus 2? I said, it's very simple. Amnesia. I said, well, let me unpack that for you. In 52 years, Dr. Fraser is going to do some dumb shit. That's just, I'm a human. I'm going to screw up. And so is Nora Jean. And she's going to do some dumb stuff
Yes.
too. Now, when we do our dumb stuff, because we're human, we come together, we discuss it like we have some sense, like we have high emotional intelligence. We then reach middle ground, and then we bless it and release it, never to bring it up again, unless you do it again. That's a different discussion. So, your life partner is the most important decision you will make in your life. And it will be a big determining factor on the success, mediocrity, or failure of your life. It will be a factor. No question. It won't be the only thing, but it will be an important factor. Someone you're sleeping with, you're with 24/7, not 24/7, but your life metaphor with them 24/7. So, yeah, that's a huge decision. Don't mess that up. Now, that's a real problem in America.
Okay.
That's a real problem right now in America. That's the number one issue in America is marriage. The marriage rate among whites and blacks in America is crazy.
The marriage rate or the separation rate? Are you talking about people not getting married anymore?
Oh, marriage,
or
dear. Marriage.
people aren't getting married? Okay.
Yes. When I was young, marriage in the white community was 90%.
Okay.
Today it's 47%.
Really? Okay.
Yes. When I was a kid, marriage in the black community was 85%, and now it's 23%.
Wow. Okay.
71%, for example, of black women are not married, and 29% of them will never get married.
Okay.
66% of black men in America are not married, and 34% of them decided they will never get married. men and women are at war. I'm talking about black and white. And not being married has a profound impact on your household income and your ability to transfer intergenerational wealth. So it's also a dollars and cents,
Challenge.
factor, huge factor. Two will always do better than one. Now, this is easy to say, difficult to do, but it must be done. That's how I got to where I am, and so many others have. But it's again easy to say, very difficult to do. But it has to do with our ability to understand the power of the human connection, the power of relationships. Right? You know, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. The fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are where you want to be. Right? What am I saying to everybody? Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. Right? If you're not where you want to be in life, it's because you don't have the right people in your life.
So true.
There's a biblical passage by Jesus Christ on this. John 5:30. This was said by Jesus. I of my own self can do nothing. Now, Jesus, if you're Christian, was the Son of God. And he couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. He had to have what? 12 disciples, and one turned on him. Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in, Carmen, is the business of building relationships. The most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century will not be your computer or AI. I'm sorry. It will be your relationships. You don't build a business, you build your people, right? And your people build your business. That's relationships. What's my advice? It's very simple. Stay away from still people. Stay away from still people, still complaining, still broke, still hating, and still nowhere. Stay away from them. It's toxic. It's epidemic in many places. So this is what you have to do, because again, business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business
There's a
building a
now I'm probably not
business.
going to get it right, but I remember watching a lot of your videos, and I thought it was very powerful when you were talking about, I think it was something like, when spiders band together, they can stop a lion.
Yes,
And I know that's not
that's
exactly
right.
right. Can
Connect
you
the
tell
dots.
us the exact
That's
phrase?
right. 45 million views on that video. And by the way, I recorded that video 15 years ago.
Wow, yeah. It's so powerful. What
And
is
it's
the
on YouTube.
exact phrase
It's
though?
called Connect the Dots. Anybody watching can go to YouTube, put in Connect the Dots, George Fraser, and the video will pop up.
Great. Yes. Connect the dots. George Fraser.
And
Very
in
highly
less than
recommend
2 minutes, you'll get
watching it.
that's right. In less than 2 minutes, you'll get a master class on
Yes.
networking.
And I think, and that's what you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about surround yourself with the right people, with the people that are going to push you forward and lift you up rather than hold you back or pull you down. And I think this video that you're talking about as well is so powerful in that when we come together as a group, we can achieve so much more than as an individual, no matter how powerful the individual is.
That's right. That's exactly right. It takes teamwork to make the dream work. That's the bottom line, right? This is how we're designed. This is not something that Dr. Fraser designed. This is God's design, right? This is how we are communal people, and we must honor that. But we must be selective in the kind of people that we surround ourselves with. And we've all made those mistakes, right? We've all made those mistakes. We've all been around some knuckleheads. It may have taken us a little time to figure it out, but it wasn't the right chemistry, it wasn't the right fit, it wasn't the right timing. I wrote a whole book on that called Click 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships. Because you don't click with everybody that you network with. You click when three things are in perfect alignment: chemistry, fit, and timing. We could have good chemistry, good fit, bad timing. We won't click. We could have good timing, good fit, bad chemistry, or bad timing. Any one of those out of the equation, you won't click with that person. So that's what you're looking for: chemistry, fit, and timing. And when that is right, when that algorithm is right, and the algorithm is very simple, write this down, Carmen. C square times F, that's fit, C is for chemistry, times the square root of T. When you square root a factor in an equation, it decreases the power, right? And when you square it, it increases the power. So C squared times F times the square root of T equals W to the third power. W to the third power. You win, I win, and the people that we both serve win. Everybody wins. That's what you're looking for. A win, win, win. See, if you win, but I don't win, we ain't clicking. And vice versa, right? And if we're winning, we should be doing something where others win with us. So we're reaching down and lifting up. We're reaching back and pulling forward. That's really the key and the essence of effective networking. Because you're giving. That's what you're doing. This is the algorithm that the creator has designed. Right? Often you'll see me at the conference saying to many of the people, how can I help you? Help me understand how I can help you. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm metaphorically and making a deposit into the bank of giving. It's a metaphorical bank. Because if you ain't giving, you ain't getting. If you have nothing, it's because you've given nothing. That you cannot take out of life that which you have not put into life, just as you cannot take out of the bank that which you have not put into the bank. That's just basic. So you have to give to get. That's how it's right. You don't get first and then give. You give to get. Now, there are times that you are getting that you haven't given anything, but it is really a signal to you that you got favor. And because you got favor, however you got it, right, you must give favor. Now, you pick and choose what's the best investment of your favor. Because what do you want when you give favor? A return on the investment. Right? So here's how it really works. Let me give you the little simple equation. Help me help you help me. That's really how it works. See, by helping you, I'm giving. And by giving, I'm making deposits. And that's helping me. But you never give to get. You give without conditions. There's no condition to me saying, yes, I will do your podcast in Australia.
Yes.
Right? No conditions. Right? You convinced me that you wanted me, and I said yes. No conditions. What time? That's the only condition. What time is it? How much time?
And it's a very different
And that's how
time
life
of
works.
the day for you than it is for me. I love all of that, and I completely agree. And you obviously created extraordinary conferences and events where people were able to practice exactly what you're talking about. And you mentioned earlier
Hmm.
that you would invite people that had something they could share with the attendees to speak for free, to gift that to the audiences. Is Do you have anyone that you remember? I'm sure there were plenty. Is there anyone that you'd like to talk about that really stood out as someone that gifted the audience an extraordinary message or lesson, or um, something that helped propel people forward?
Yeah. There.
Too many to.
So I don't want to sound. I don't want to sound arrogant, but unless they have stood out before,
Mhm.
they're at the top of their
Mm,
game. They don't speak at my
mm, mm.
conference. It is what I call a golden microphone. We get thousands of people. People lobby me to speak. And again, I'm not bragging. I'm just
Mm-mm.
saying. And so I'm fearful of mentioning a
Okay.
name,
Because there's too many to mention.
right? Because I could really mention
Yes.
anybody's name because if they're on my platform, they are the best and brightest at what
Yes.
they do.
Okay.
That's just the requirement. I don't even consider anything less than that.
Mm-mm.
So I don't want to mention one particular
Yes.
name, um, uh, because I don't because once you start mentioning names, you're gonna miss
Yeah.
somebody.
Like an Oscars
And
thank
by
you
the way,
speech.
they know who they
Yeah.
are. They know who they are. They spoke at the conference,
Yes.
right? So I'm reluctant uh, to do
Mm.
it because I don't want to demean or diminish the importance and power of every single person that stood on that platform and gave of
Mm.
themselves. So they know who they are, and the people and the tens of thousands of people that have come to the conference over the years, 24 years, they know who they are
Yes.
too, right?
And a lot of people listening will be listening to this podcast because they're either speakers already, or they want to be a speaker, or they feel that they need to speak because of the message that they have to share and the impact they need to have on the world. Do you have any words of wisdom for those who feel the calling to speak?
Yes,
Feel free to share them with
you
us.
want to speak? Yeah. Now listen to me. If you're serious about speaking, let me tell you the first thing you must do: write a book. Whatever your thoughts are, whatever you're passionate about, maybe even angry about because it's not what it needs to be, discipline yourself to put it in writing, put it on paper, put it out into the marketplace, and see what people say. If they like it, they will buy it. That is a clear signal to you that whatever you had to say is of interest. Now, there's a difference between writing a speech and writing a book. Two different ways you style it. Um, you're then going to have to, whatever that book is, and if you got a really good response, you know that there's a market out there. Not only that, but if you got a good response to your book because you marketed it appropriately, you begin to build what? Name recognition. You know how many best-selling books have been written, and the first demand of the bestseller is, will he come and speak on this? That's how I started speaking. I wrote a book called Success Runs in Our Race: The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the Black Community, right? That was HarperCollins was the. I'm pulling it out. HarperCollins was the publisher, and this is the book. And there I was with black hair and a black mustache. Right. This book stayed on the bestsellers list for 5 years.
Wow. That's a long time. That's fantastic.
In fact, I wrote it it came out in 1994, so I wrote it 31 years ago.
Wow.
It's still on Amazon and it sells 10,000 copies a year 31 years later. So it hit a chord.
Mm.
It was the first major book in our culture on the niche of networking. And so then there was a huge demand for me to come and talk about
Yes.
it.
Good.
And so to talk about it, you don't have enough time in a talk to talk about a 350-page book.
No. You've got
Who wants to
multiple
just
talks
read
in
that?
that book.
Right? Read the damn book. So you have to thin slice it. So that means you now have to write a speech. And once you write your speech, you got to practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, so that you can deliver it. The greatest fear the human has is the fear of speaking. Do you know that? It's greater than the fear of dying.
Yes.
The second greatest fear is the fear of speaking and dying at the same time. Right? So this is no easy thing. So you've got to write something that you can deliver with gusto, with enthusiasm. You perform a speech. A good speech is really a great performance. It's full body contact,
I
and you can't stand there and read it.
I agree with you on that, Dr. George, and you've probably had this as well. I've had so many people over my time in helping speakers or corporates or whoever it is that wants to speak. And people will say to me, I don't want to rehearse too much. I don't want to over rehearse it because I'm much better off the cuff. I'm terrible when I've rehearsed it. Have you ever had anyone say that to you?
Oh,
Yes. And
sure.
what's your response to that?
Sure. It takes time and practice. I wrote a book called Mission Unstoppable: Extraordinary Stories of Failure's Blessings. And I tell the story of my first speech I had to give at Procter and Gamble. You want to know what
Yes.
happened? I fainted.
You fainted.
I was so nervous. I literally
Oh no.
collapsed. No, there's no such thing as a natural born speaker. This is an unnatural thing. And the reason is when you stand up to speak, you are the focal point of attention. All eyes are on you.
Yes.
That's pressure and stress, especially if you're not used to that. So it takes practice. But you have to have something to say first. You're not going to stand up and speak on something you're just improvising or ad-libbing on. No. But the first step is to write it. And the first step to getting any sort of name recognition out there is to write your book and put it out there. And get your name from as a writer. Then there will be demand for speaking. I mean, it's not don't make this complicated. And then understand the golden rules of speaking. And the golden rules of speaking are not difficult either.
Tell us about the golden rules of speaking.
There are three things that you must do as a great speaker. If you don't do these things, you'll never be, end quote, a great speaker. First is you must provoke. You must make people think.
Yes.
You got to get them at hello.
I love that.
It may mean starting with something negative. Learn how to do that in a kind but provocative way. The second thing is to instruct. You cannot just provoke, talk about what's wrong, and not have marching orders. That's stupid. Right? Right? That's stupid. Why be stupid? Okay, if you're all that in a bag of chips, what's the answer to your
Mm,
provocation? And the third and final thing, you must leave every audience inspired.
mm.
It's no more complicated than that. Don't make it complicated. Go to a voice coach if that's what you think you
Mhm.
need. All right. Go to a drama coach, a theater coach, because it's a full body sport.
Yes.
Right. Even I'm sitting in an office, right? And you can see that I'm practiced at speaking because of the way I move my body, the way I move my head, the way I move my it's all of
Mm,
that.
mm. Yes.
Your voice, it's your eyes, it's how it's the, you've got what, 50 little muscles in your face that you can control various expressions.
Mm.
And then you got to practice in the mirror. There's nothing more painful than a boring ass speaker.
Yes, I agree with that. Definitely.
I mean, it's really
And
painful. Not only is it painful for them, it's painful for you
yes.
too.
And because you're missing out on the opportunity that you have to, as you said, inspire the people in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's exactly
Mm,
right. And don't ever be afraid of saying the same things over and over and
mm.
over because people need to hear it more than
Yeah.
once. We learned that as growing up as
Mm.
kids. I can't tell you how many times my mother had to tell me, Georgie boy, take out the
Mm.
garbage.
Yes.
About 20 times. Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
you
yeah.
want me to take out the garbage?
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
life.
And so true,
So
and
don't.
something simple, but something that we often forget, or you think you think you've repeated yourself too many times, or you think you've shared the message because you've heard it so much. It's so ingrained in you, it's a part of you, and you forget that not everybody else lives and breathes it like you do, and that they need to hear it
You could say
multiple
one.
times.
You could say one simple thing out of, let's say, a life experience that could be nirvana, awe-inspiring to a single person. And I've already expressed on several occasions that has happened to me. Someone said something just at the right time in the right way that changed my entire life. You never know who you're talking to and where they are on the staircase of life. They could be at the bottom stair, mid stair. So, yeah, never be afraid to repeat. When I say repeat, I mean you do a speech here, and then someone asks you to do a speech. You say, "Well, I gave that speech 2 weeks ago at this company." Yeah, yeah, you did. But maybe the company you're speaking for, maybe 90% of people never heard it. Repeat it, and you have to do it in ways, as you've seen. You have to do it in ways and frame it in such a way that it's quippy. It's quips. It's thing. Why? Because these things, these quips. Here's a quip. What you're not changing, you're choosing. People, they hook into the brain and they can repeat it. See, that's the beauty of it. You want people repeating what you said. And if it's all really complicated and wordy as hell, they can't remember it. So you want to add something that gives them a hook and then repeat it. That's the moral responsibility anybody has if they've heard something like profound. What is profundity? It's making something extraordinarily complicated simple.
So true.
That's profundity.
Mm-mm.
If you can say it in 6 words as opposed to 60 words, you're really going to resonate with people,
Yes, absolutely.
right? It doesn't mean that your whole speech is 6 words or whatever the point you would. No, no, no. There's some things you expound on a little bit. Some, it's a balancing act.
Mm-mm.
It's theater.
Yes.
You understand me? It's a
Yeah.
performance.
you're definitely preaching to the converted here. I 100% agree with you. Dr. George, our conversation has gone so fast. I could keep talking to you for another few hours, but I'm very mindful that it's quite late at night now where you are, even though it's during the day for me. So I wanted to say a huge thank you for coming on to this podcast. I know our listeners will have gained so much gold from what you had to share. Is there anything you would like to leave them with before we finish our conversation?
I'm going to leave you with a thought, and you unpack it. We don't have time for me to unpack it. I asked for flowers, and God gave me rain. Think about it.
Wonderful.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you so much, Dr. George. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here on the show.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
You too.
Appreciate you.
Bye. All right, here's where you're standing. You can close this episode, think that was fun, and go back to doing things the way you've always done them. Or you can decide you're done being the speaker, the leader that people politely applaud and immediately forget. If you want to create the kind of moments we talked about today, the theatrical, the unforgettable, the profitable, I've put together something that'll change how you think about the stage forever. It's called Beyond the Keynote, Creating Your Illuminated Story. No fluff, no theory, just methodology I use with elite speakers and leaders who are done playing small. Go to illuminatedstory.com/masterclass. And hey, if this episode hit you somewhere, share it, leave a review. It takes 30 seconds and helps more people discover that great speaking isn't magic. It's a game, and you can learn to win it. I'm Carmen Sederino. Don't just speak, illuminate. See you next week.